We recently did a poll to see what kind of build you guys would like to see next, and you voted for bunk beds. And our kids couldn't be happier.
So today we're building bunk beds out of walnut and curly maple that we purchased S4S.
That's right. We're going to be building this without any of our milling equipment to show you that it can be done.
First we dive into what we're calling the ladders, which are essentially the head and foot of the bed.
For this, we'll need 4 posts and 11 rungs. The head will have 1 extra rung at the top.
You can really connect these however you like, but we purchased the Jessom Tool Company Pocket Mill Pro, so we will be using floating tenons.
After the posts and rungs are cut, we mark out where to drill the mortises on the posts. We went with a simple 12-inch spacing between the rungs.
I'm not claiming to be some kind of ladderologist. I'm just saying that 12-inch spacing between the rungs, it just felt right.
We then just marked out the center of the ends of the rungs to cut our mortises.
When we purchased the Pocket Mill Pro, we opted not to get the workstation that goes with it. I just slapped some scrap plywood together and it works. After completing this project though, I can say that if you have the budget, get the workstation as well.
And here's a link for the review we did for this tool.
We've got our mortise and we've got our floating tenon.
With the rungs done, we remove the pocket mill from the fixed position, and now we just clamp it to the post to cut those mortises.
This tool is pretty versatile and easy to use. We're definitely happy we bought it.
We do a quick dry fit and proceed to glue it all together.
I did want to speak to the quality and selection of the S4S lumber that we purchased. It was a pretty good selection. I felt the milling was done pretty well, and it arrived in great condition with finish-ready surface.
We ordered the lumber for this project from Swaner Hardwood. And the reason we did that is that nearly everyone has a Home Depot nearby where they carry Swaner hardwood. But one of our favorite resources is actually Woodworker's Source. We sourced a ton of lumber from them when we lived down in Arizona. We'll make sure to link them in the description.
With the ladders and clamps, we turn our focus to the rails. We'll be making 2 different styles of rails. The top rails will be taller to prevent anyone from rolling off the top bunk and falling to the floor.
The bottom rails will just hold the mattress in place, so sorry bottom bunk sleeper, life can be harsh and unfair.
From the cutoffs of the boards, we make spacers to connect the 2 boards of the top rails. We make sure to cut them so the grain is traveling in the same direction.
We set our stop block on the crosscut sled in order to get consistent cuts as we go.
As previously mentioned, we ordered the lumber S4S online from Swaner Hardwood. The selection overall was pretty good, but the curly maple we received was absolutely amazing. And here's a short video about that.
We mark out the spacers in the rails where we need to cut the mortises, and we just get right back into using our Pocket Mill Pro.
I know we're giving our opinion a lot on things in this video, but we are in no way sponsored, nor have we even been given a discount for anything in this video. We just felt our honest opinion may help you not make bad purchases.
This is the bucket of the loose tenons that we purchased off Amazon. There will be a link below, or you could always just make your own.
Once again, we dry fit, and then we get right into gluing the top rails and spacers together.
We prefer to use Titebond 3 for glue ups like this because the setup time's a little longer, especially since our shop is pretty cold right now.
Okay, we have a big favor to ask. If you have any funny bunk bed stories, please share it in the comments section of this video for everyone to enjoy.
Alright, now it's time for the bed hardware. This is mortise-free bed hardware, and it is super easy to install and use.
We lay out and mark where the screws will go. You definitely want to pre-drill and put in the screws by hand to keep from splitting the lumber.
We offset our hardware here by the thickness of the ladder. That way we have the rails overlap the sides of the ladders.
For the hardware on the ladders, we set the lower bunk at 12 inches and the top bunk at 54 inches from the floor. This puts the tops of the mattresses at about 20 inches and 64 inches. Now to all my metric system people, according to my calculations, I believe that's equal to 26 meters. That being said, I'm not a measurologist, so you'll probably just have to Google it.
We carefully finish attaching the hardware to the ladders by hand. Now that all the hardware is attached, we thought it would be a good idea to finish the rails so that they will actually support the mattress. We ripped down the walnut to make what we are calling the slat supports. These will be attached to the side of the curly maple rails and support the slats that the mattress sits on.
First, we run a heavy bead of glue along the inside of the rail. This should be enough to support the slats. Why I didn't apply it to the slat support and spread it even here, I'm not really sure. But anyway, we get it lined up flush and apply clamping pressure.
We decided to pre-drill and secure the support to the rails using wood screws. Again, we drive them in slowly by hand to avoid splitting any of the wood.
This serves two purposes in that it may provide an extra level of shear strength as well as help us cope with the great clamp drought of 2023. You can never have enough clamps.
We decided to go ahead and assemble the bed as is just to ensure that it actually goes together like it should.
This hardware we used is really easy to assemble. Once assembled, it is very tight-fitting and solid. I was able to put it together by myself with ease. With a rail on one side, I very easily put on the top rail on the other side, and whammy. That felt good. I feel good.
We measure the gap between the rails to determine the length of our slats that will span the gap and support the bed.
We set our state-of-the-art stop block on our miter station to get a consistent length for all of our slats. I know it's not pretty, but I made it in about 13 seconds and it's highly functional.
We cut the slats using a variety of walnut and maple boards. The walnut still needed to be cut to width, so we took it over and broke it down on the table saw.
We ended up with 12 slats of each wood type. With some of the scrap maple, we cut small blocks that will keep the slats from sliding along the rail.
We employed the bandsaw to rip the blocks in half. That way we avoided losing too much material on a different saw.
Then, measuring out a good even spacing for the slats, we marked out where we want them to go. We use a block to ensure even spacing between the slats.
With the locations marked out, we utilized child labor to get all the small blocks attached to the rails and the slat supports, fastening them with glue and 23 gauge pin nails.
We just do a light hand sanding over all the pieces to soften the edges and prep for applying finish. We sanded with 240 grit and then applied 3 coats of wipe-on poly.
The poly seemed to yellow the curly maple a lot more than what we anticipated or even liked, but after drying, it seemed to be a little less severe.
If you make your kids sleep in the woodshed, this is what it looks like.
But if you're not a monster, it should look something like this.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.